Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just click the link in the show description to support now.
This is Christine Brown, and while I have to listen to this podcast as my motherly duty, you have the choice not to. My sons sometimes say some naughty things when they're trying to be funny, but really, they're just being stupid. Do you still want to listen? Go right ahead. I am not your mother.
Welcome back to the Patriots Dynasty podcast. Had a bye week last week, but in preparation for a big game, you kind of have to do that. So we're back, and it is your host here, Andy Brown, along with both brothers Brown, Greg and Steve, who I believe actually both watched the game this week.
I always watch the game.
Me too.
I think we both know I wasn't talking about you, Steve.
Bobby's on?
Bobby's on.
Oh, and
we got
way to
two
ruin
guests
the surprise. Yeah.
Wow.
Kelly's here ruining the surprise.
Kelly has lurked into the bedroom. She
Kelly
can't hear anything we're saying.
Andy was just about to announce me.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. Okay, I'm fine.
Okay, bye.
Hi, Kelly. Good input.
Good. Yeah.
Thanks for the contribution.
Great start. Yeah, and so for the surprise that was now ruined, we've also with us joining us today our brother-in-law, Bobby Bridges, the Carolina Panthers fan, Bobby Bridges. It felt appropriate to bring him back. We've talked to him before, but these are better circumstances for you, Bobby, I would think.
I'm just here to boost my ratings from the last time I was on.
With whom?
Yeah. You're only getting 3 anyways. One of them was mom.
With all the Patriots fans that are dying to hear you come back on the podcast?
I just add whatever flavor I can.
I love it, yeah. So the last time we talked to you, the Panthers were 1-15, finishing out that season. This was only 2 seasons ago, and the Patriots had thrashed them to end their season, going into their playoffs. And you said it was the low point in the franchise's history, if I recall.
I believe that's accurate.
Yeah. So then would that make this 2003 team the high point or just a high point?
Yeah, I was thinking that. For me personally, high point. Like, this was a high watermark. This was this is the most important Panthers game I've ever watched. Most important Panthers game of my life. High moment for the franchise. I think arguably in retrospect, yes. Because we don't even need to talk about that stupid ass shit show against Denver a few years ago.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only competition, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but which team would you say was better as a Panthers fan? Because that more recent one with Cam Newton, they were 15-1?
Yeah, that was a better team. But this 2003 team was grittier.
Very.
And the second half showed that, as I recall.
Yes. So yeah, these Carolina Panthers back in 2003 finished the season 11-5. It was good enough for the 3 seed in the NFC, and they kind of had a bit of a wild ride to the Super Bowl. Because I know we actually touched on it last week before, when the Patriots were playing their divisional game against the Titans in the cold. Yeah. They kept showing highlights of the Panthers game because they were playing the Rams, and they beat the Rams in double overtime, where Steve Smith took a quick slant and just fucking housed it.
Walked it off.
Yeah.
First play.
This was the most important game, but that Rams game is my favorite Panthers game of my entire life, actually. I actually vividly remember that game and where I was watching it. And that Steve Smith play, I remember that play is seared into my soul. It was the only way it could have gone down. I can picture it in front of my eyes right now.
Yeah. I understand that feeling. I have that with a few Patriots plays. But that actually brings me to my point. Because I feel like I kind of want to hear what my brothers have to say about this. I feel like Steve Smith is like a Rodney Harrison type of guy where you love him if he's on your team, but otherwise you think you fucking hate him.
Yeah, he was like Heinz Ward to me.
I knew you would, Greg. Because Bobby, I imagine like he's probably one of like the top like Panthers in Panther history, right?
I have no hesitation in saying he's the greatest Panther in history. And my opinion is, if you didn't like Steve Smith, you didn't fucking like football.
Agree. Complete agree. He's different than Rodney in that even if he's not on your team, you love him because he's just fucking awesome.
But I feel like he was that same, like, always played right on the edge, would just trash talk the shit out of everybody all the time. And like he seemed to be able to rile up the other team in a way that felt very reminiscent of a Rodney Harrison.
Feels like a Hines Ward to me.
That's a pretty good comparison. Yeah, I think he was probably more talented than Hines Ward, but yes.
But also, like, if you're going to, I mean, Steve Smith's making my top 10 all-time athletes in terms of biggest chip on your shoulder. Like, he's up there in terms of just, like, every game showed up with a, like, I heard all these motherfuckers thought I sucked at football. Like, literally before every game. And, like, the thing about his trash talk was, like, that shit cut deep. I mean, the most hilarious moment ever was this, like, Minnesota game when he, like, just ripped Fred Smoot's, like, soul out of his body. I think that was the, like, Ice Up Sun game.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. He's even better now with, like, the analyst stuff he did. Like, he was doing Thursday Night Football halftime show, and, like, Michael Irvin was like trying to like playfully talk shit to him about like his suit or something.
Oh, that's right.
And Steve Smith was just having none of it. He was just like, fuck you, I'm a better receiver than you or something like that.
Yeah, that's how he responds to every moment. And it's become clear in all aspects of his life. Like, if you have something to say, I have a response. I'm coming for you. He also apparently runs like an epic soccer camp.
Really?
Soccer camp?
Yeah. His kids play soccer. He's like super into it.
No shit.
Interesting.
Pretty sweet.
So I just Googled like top Steve Smith, best of Steve Smith Sr.'s trash talk on BaltimoreRavens.com of all websites.
Whatever. They can try to claim that ownership if they want.
Yeah, well, I know. But the slideshow, the first slide is, I look in the eyes of all my victims before I take their lunch money.
That sounds right.
That sounds right.
Yeah, it really does. And there's another one. I don't know who he's talking about, but we're not on the same team anymore. So I'm going to go try and knock his block off too. And when I get up, I'm going to spin the football, go back to the huddle, and do it again.
That's just media shit talking too.
Yeah. Put your goggles on because there's going to be blood and guts everywhere.
I think he said that about coming back to his first Panthers game.
Oh, did he?
He was unhappy about the way things ended. He was not wrong in the way he was treated by ownership.
How did it end? I don't think I remember that.
They just didn't re-sign him, and it was just like for a franchise icon, completely inexcusable.
Oh, yeah. Because wasn't it like he was too old and losing a step? Because there's a lot of quotes in here about like...
Yeah, and then he went to fucking...
Lost a step.
And then he went to Baltimore and like had a 1,000-yard season and was like, fuck everybody.
Yeah. I remember that year.
This is a good one. Honestly, I want your mom to be pissed off when she sees on SportsCenter that I'm doing her son like dirt.
The difference, like, is like you have those players now, like the guy from the Rams, the cornerback. You have the cocky guys,
Yeah, Rams
or the Sherman, the Richard Sherman, but they don't feel as authentically like psychopathic as Smith does. That's what's great about Smith is it's very genuine. You could tell it's not like he's just like playing a character. He is actually that fucking crazy.
Yeah, it was never for attention. It was not about spectacle. This was pre-social media. He like actually took all of this shit personally. And that was like his journey to the league, right? He was like a special teams guy from like Utah that nobody thought would make it. And like, you know, he's like one of those guys. He truly legit fought and earned his spot in the league. And then I think truly felt disrespected by everyone all the time.
It sure seems that way. And that's why I was saying like that my comparison was Rodney Harrison, because I mean, Rodney Harrison was the king of nobody believes in us. We're playing with the chip on our shoulder because everybody's talking shit and we're going to prove the world wrong and all that sort of crap. Even when they were in the midst of like a 20-something game win streak and nobody was doubting them.
Is he in the Hall of Fame, Steve Smith?
It's a good question.
I don't think he's eligible yet.
I was going to say, I don't think he's been retired long enough.
Okay.
He's one of those like borderline cases on the numbers, but I mean, I think I've made it clear where my opinion lies.
I think so too.
I think he should get it. It's saying here he's 7th in NFL career receiving yards. That's gotta be a Hall of Famer. 12th in receptions and 25th in touchdowns. That's gotta be.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty legit.
What about Edelman then? Who also just retired?
Edelman's sneaky crazy too.
Yeah, I think he's also got that chip on his shoulder. He didn't say, like, he didn't talk the same way that Steve Smith did, but I think he played the same way.
Right. I agree. I always think back to, I think it was the Seattle Super Bowl when they had like the mic'd up version and he like got crunched in a hit and he got up laughing and goes, I love getting hit.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's just a fucking crazy man.
That's a lunatic. Yeah. Or he was saying something about how like he was on the bench mic'd up. And he's like, so my dad always said growing up, when you have somebody on the ground, you got to step on their throat.
Yeah.
And then like later on it comes back to him. He's like, that explains a lot about me, actually, really, doesn't it? Apparently, I think his dad was a bit of a psycho, though. Edelman's. Which makes a lot of sense.
He seems a little more like social media savvy, though, and like kind of knows what he's doing.
I mean, that could also just be a sign of the times, too, though, right?
That's true.
It's true.
But yeah, so Bobby, do you have any like just overall thoughts about this 2003 team? Just memories generally about them?
Yeah, I mean, I remember this team so well. This was like such a watershed moment. I mean, for me, this was freshman year in college, and in the early days of the Panthers, I like had not. Like I didn't really get in on the team closely when they were in like, 96 and all that. But like a little bit later on high school started to, because then this was like after we lost the Hornets and like the Panthers were kind of the thing in town. Football was growing a little bit, but and I might have said this the last time, but like it was still big time Redskins Cowboys territory. Which is why actually I seem to remember we trashed Dallas in the first round during the stupid Quincy Carter days. And it was such a satisfying victory because the Cowboys fans were such obnoxious assholes. And we just like smashed them. I think we either shut them out or they only scored like 3 points. And it was just like fucking assholes.
29-10, apparently.
Yeah.
That's all beat down.
Yeah. I mean, this team, it was like, the winning season came out of nowhere. Like you said, it's like we were total shit. And then 2001, John Fox takes over in 2002. It immediately at least makes the franchise respectable. I think we went 7-9 the year before. And then was like, had the makings of a solid defense. But like, we're coming into that season and it's like Steve Smith, like this was his blow up season. Like he'd been solid in 2002, but like he was just a returner before that.
Right.
Musoud Muhammad was like a respectable veteran, but he didn't blow up until really about this time as like the legit number 2 receiver. We like signed Steven Davis, I think, from the Redskins. It's like this like slightly over the hill workhorse back, but like nobody knew if he was going to stay healthy. And then Rodney Peete was the starting quarterback to start that season.
Rodney Peete.
And it's funny because the first game of that season we played the Jaguars, and my parents went to that game. And that was the game Jake Delhomme, remember this is fucking Jake Delhomme, like coming out of nowhere, NFL Europe, like on the practice squad. And then they put him at halftime when we're losing to Jacksonville. He sparks the comeback, and then wins the starting job week 1. Like my parents like were buzzing about it coming home. Like people were jacked. The second half was awesome. This guy, Jake Delhomme, comes on, brings the comeback. And it was one of those seasons, right, where it's like this like scrappy kind of team of no names comes together. And that was the vibe. But like, without that team, I don't think the Panthers look like they do now. Like without that team to galvanize the fan base, like, I don't know where things are at. I don't know if the team really gains momentum. Hell, who knows? They might've gotten moved. Maybe I'm being a little dramatic, but like they didn't accomplish much before that. And it's like, this season made the Panthers like a legit thing in the region.
Yeah.
And like, so it was a big deal. I mean, they won a lot of close games that season. Like I mean, they weren't dominant, you know what I mean? They won 11-5. I'm pretty sure they like won a shitload of like down to the wire games and close, and like it was like scrappy defense and opportunistic offense and, you know, kind of a like nobody believes in us attitude the whole fucking way. And I don't think they were favored in any of their playoff games. Like even people were talking about Dallas beating us in the first round, which is why it was so disrespectful. Because Dallas was trash.
They had 5 overtime games and won them all. I know they lost 1.
Apparently, DeLome had 8 game-winning drives in fourth quarter overtime, which is an NFL record. Yeah,
it was that kind of season.
Yeah.
Daylight
come and you got a DeLome.
I mean, I still got my somewhere in the closet. I should have fucking worn it. Maybe I'll go get it in a minute. I got the powder blue DeLome jersey in the closet somewhere. Number 17.
That's a deep cut. I like that.
No, I mean
he's one of those guys you can't get his jersey because he's such a fucking dork.
Yeah, he looked like he was on drugs.
Nope. But the thing you got to remember is the whole franchise was a giant dork, and he did something special. So like, you say whatever you want about him. That guy's an important franchise player. But yeah, I mean,
but he's a nerd. He's a dork.
Oh, totally. I'm like watching.
I'd take like 4 players' jerseys over his on this roster.
Ooh. Name them.
Julius Peppers, Steve Smith, Chris Jenkins, Ricky Manning. Boom.
Ricky Manning?
Yeah, Ricky Manning was awesome.
Yeah, he was like low-key contributor glue guy.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, so
big play guy.
Yeah.
Plays best in the big games.
I mean, all of this is true from a football nerd standpoint. But like, I don't know, like so many of those moments, it's just like, this is a franchise that everything went wrong for beforehand. And then like DeLome was the guy who like, did anybody think he was a franchise quarterback? Nope. By the end of that season, did people trust him to come through in the clutch? Yes. And it was like a moment, you know what I mean? It was like a Linsanity kind of moment for a whole season.
He was only the second undrafted quarterback to start in the Super Bowl. I think he probably still is, I would guess.
Was that after Kurt Warner?
It was.
Yeah, he got a lot of the Kurt Warner comparisons that year.
Yeah, and like I think you touched on it earlier, Jake Delhomme was the backup for Amsterdam in the World Football League. You know who he backed up?
Kurt Warner.
Oh, I would have known this.
It was Kurt Warner.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember they had a connection from the NFL Europe gig.
Mm-hmm.
The Amsterdam Admirals.
So the Amsterdam Admirals are basically a quarterback factory, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
A graduate of Southwestern Louisiana University.
Another powerhouse.
A college that does not exist. Well, I guess it does. It's UL Lafayette now. They changed their name.
That's why I thought they had become Lafayette. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and then the playoff run. I mean, I was watching all these games in my college dorm, and this kind of like helped set like I'm going to Davidson, right? So I'm like literally 20 minutes out of Charlotte, but I'm going to college with a bunch of out-of-staters. Like my whole freshman hall is a bunch, like New Jersey, New England, Florida, like people are all over. And this like cemented me as like, oh, Bob's the like local guy who's like fucking crazy about the Panthers and he yells about teams and shit.
You're that asshole.
Yeah.
That was
Steve made a fucking friend group out of that.
Oh yeah.
Just being like, oh, he's a Boston sports guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here I am doing a fucking Patriots podcast for 65 fucking episodes, rewatching all these games.
Yeah.
I got a question about Delhomme. Based on the Wikipedia.com entry for Delhomme, it said Delhomme is noted for licking his fingers before every play and sticking his tongue out as part of his focus, which led him to be a Bojangles fried chicken representative. What do you ever want to call it? Like he was in all the commercials. Yeah. Do you remember any of the Bojangles Delhomme commercials?
Oh, I I was like waiting to be like, what's the question? All of those things are just facts. And yes,
well known in the Carolina.
I 100% remember the Bojangles commercials.
Awesome.
I'm assuming.
I mean, I also like
Gino's
no joke
Adam
remember the
Vinatieri.
tongue thing.
I didn't notice it in this game.
Dude, he looked like he was on drugs on multiple points in this game.
Oh yeah, he's like kind of wild-eyed at times. At one point for years I had this DVD that was like I got out of like the $10 bin at Walmart once on a whim during like maybe later in college, and it was like one of those like Super Bowl highlights videos, and it like gave you like the spiel on every Super Bowl.
Yep.
And for years, like the day of the Super Bowl, I would like make my roommates at the time watch it and like get hype. And I remember, I mean, I can vividly remember all the highlights it had for this game, which was the second to last game on the disc. The last game on the disc was the Eagles Super Bowl, the next one. And, but like you can literally see him in the huddle doing that crazy tongue out shit. Yeah, he was crazy. Some country bumpkin crazy ass.
He was crazy but I think it was more of a good crazy than like a Steve Smith scary crazy.
Yeah.
But there was one time where, not to ruin anything, but he threw a touchdown and he was running down to celebrate it, and Rodney Harrison kind of like shoulder checked him.
Yeah.
And he spun around and just started screaming at Rodney Harrison. No idea what he was saying.
Sounds right.
Drugs.
Yeah.
That's why I wrote that note, that scene there. It looks like he's just on, those guys you see ranting and raving by the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. Yeah. Looked like he was
the other way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bringing Jesus to the field. It's great.
Are you guys watching the Jake Delhomme Bojangles commercials now?
No.
I already watched them. They're awesome.
I think we'll have to put him in the
Dukes of Hazzard one.
show notes.
Yeah, the Dukes of Hazzard one's sweet.
But I mean, he was. I mean, you're talking like a like underdog upstart franchise in a region that hasn't had football, and here you have this guy who took him to the Super Bowl. Who, say what you want about him, he like bleeds authenticity. So people love that.
That's
shit.
true. Yeah, that is true.
Like none of this shit was an act. He just was himself.
That's it's kind of the vibes you got from Brady back in the day too. Like
I was
before
thinking
Brady became cool, he was kind of similar, like nerdy, aw shucks kind of guy. That was like also a competitor when you put him on the field, but you get him off the field, he's like, oh, my teammates. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And he had more of the like quiet intensity on the field vibe, but like that also, in those days read as authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, now we know it's just, a sociopath, but
he was definitely on drugs. Steve Smith is in one of these commercials.
Oh boy, but that's a good one. Yeah, Steve Smith strikes me as somebody who can't take a joke.
Well, I also remember like moments like the Steve Smith Jake Delhomme relationship was interesting because they like simultaneously had a ton of success together and like had a like clear connection. And as Steve Smith sort of like as he hit his prime, there was also this clear tension of like, hey, motherfucker, if you would just be a little bit better, I could do a lot more. But he would just like, they had the kind of relationship where they would just go at it. Like Steve Smith would just tell him like, motherfucker, you missed that throw in the huddle. And they would just like, that was the relationship. But like, I think that like, that's what set the tone for the whole team. It was just like, we just like, it was like a very like real vibe on that team.
It seemed like another strength of this Panthers team was their defensive line. Like I remember, like that's one of the few things I remember from like the build up to the game was just it was nonstop talk about how would the Patriots offensive line handle these absolute fucking monsters on the Panthers defense.
Peppers and Mike Rucker on the end, Brinson Buckner and Chris Jenkins on the middle. Yeah, they were a force.
Yeah,
they really were.
And I thought you kind of saw it early in this game too, where like Brady just had absolutely no time, and the whole offensive line of the Patriots getting pushed around.
Yeah, the first half was low scoring, right?
Oh,
the first
21, 25 minutes.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
and then
3 minutes.
24 points were scored right at the end of the half.
Oh, that's right. It was right before halftime. Things kind of lit up.
Yeah, and then nothing in the third quarter. Then the fourth quarter.
Yeah, back and forth.
Yeah, ton of points.
Well, it's supposed to be a boring game, right? Because the Patriots were the defensive juggernaut, and the Panthers had just come off a 14-3 win against the Eagles. So the over-under is 38, which is, you know, you never see a 38-point over-under these days.
Right.
But yeah, I think people had low expectations of what the Super Bowl would be like. Then the Pats were 7-point favorites, so it's like they weren't even expecting like a close game. They were thinking a low-scoring Patriots win.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
And it was the complete opposite. It was a fucking shootout that came down to the last play,
Tom Brady.
which is pretty awesome.
It wasn't though, because like the first half was 14-10.
Yep.
And actually after the third quarter it was still 14-10. And then
And there was that back and forth, just mayhem at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. So do we want to give this a watchability score, boys? We haven't actually done that. We haven't actually said what the final score is either.
Well, everyone knows we went in on a last-minute field goal.
Yeah, 32-29 after all that. So 38-point over-under, and the Patriots almost covered that themselves, as did the Panthers. So nice high-scoring game, even though 14-10 going into that fourth quarter. There was one.
My man John Casey kicked it out of bounds.
5 touchdowns.
That final kickoff.
Yeah, and he was a really good kicker too for you.
I'll say no bad words about him. Another important man in the franchise, but what a tragic moment.
It was kind of the opposite of Adam Vinatieri in this game, because Adam had struggled all season with misses and missed his first field goal, and then had his second one blocked. So he was 0 for 2 on the game on field goals. And then it came down to him having to kick. His other field goals were actually short, like 30-something yarders. This one was a 41-yard to win it.
What a great example of how the victor set the narrative. Because like the Pats lose that game, Vinatieri's a fucking goat.
Yeah, and not in a good way.
Wouldn't even close.
Yeah,
add 6 points to that.
It's true. Yeah,
or even 3.
Also, a tough look for John Casey is, did you see he had earplugs in?
Yeah,
that is just, for a kicker, that it's just a tough look.
That's such a kicker thing,
Bowl too. You know, it's not even supposed to be that loud there.
Such a kicker thing.
I mean, I remember him as like a pretty weird dude.
Really?
He was also like old.
Yeah.
He kicked for a long time. He had like a really long career, but he was like, I think he might have even been then at that time one of the oldest guys on the team.
He's 34. He kicked for 20 years in the NFL. Yeah. His rookie season was 1991.
So yeah, he had been around.
Speaking of kicking, I have notes on that long snapper from the Patriots.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Speaking of old ass motherfuckers.
Yeah, tell me about him.
So I read that. I think it's a Sports Illustrated piece. You should read it. I got a little quick Cliff Notes version, but if you have time, you should definitely read it. He had snapped for Belichick in Cleveland, had been retired for 3 years, and was teaching third grade or second grade in Louisiana. And then they brought him up right before the playoffs.
Right, because the Patriots long snapper got hurt. And so they brought in the backup, and he got hurt too. So they just didn't have a long snapper. So they literally signed this guy off the street, right?
Yeah. But from Belichick's Cleveland days. So
you gotta love that shit. There's nothing better about sports. Yeah. I wish I could do that as a principal. I wish I could be like, this teacher's on leave, this backup sucks. I'm literally calling somebody I know from college and saying, I need you in here to teach 7th grade science for 6 weeks. We're on the verge of a major breakthrough. You're a part of the team. Here's a jersey.
A lot of pressure.
We wear jerseys.
Right? A lot of pressure.
He's taking camcorders around the Patriots facility and his experience and mailing them back to his second grade classroom in Louisiana. I would love to see those tapes, by the way, because that's probably awesome.
Oh man, I wonder if we can get a hold of this guy.
Yips right before the Super Bowl, and he can't snap a ball, save his life. Yeah, he's skipping them all, and if you look close, there's a couple of skip snaps in this game on punts.
On punts, yeah,
that's
and
right.
One of the field goals. So he's up all night the night before the game, snapping into a pillow. Goes to the meal before the game. Tries to cut a dinner roll with a steak knife and fucking gets 3 stitches. cuts his fucking hand
Oh.
right before the Super Bowl, the morning of.
Bro, get it together.
Oh.
Yeah. So he's already got the yips. Belichick's pissed at him, but there's nobody else to replace him.
Yeah.
Then he cuts his hand the dinner the day before or the morning of.
This is my nightmare.
And so he was like, please score a touchdown. Please score a touchdown. They did. And then the Panthers came back and scored another touchdown. So then he was just flipping his shit when they had the field goal to win it. And he's like, look, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out guns firing. So I'd rather snap it over the guy's head entirely than just like dribble that doesn't get there. So he ended up crushing it.
Perfect snap. The only one he needed. The rest of them didn't really matter. Because it's not like Ken Walter was going to put a good punt together, even if you did snap it to him.
It's true. He had played with Ken Walter in Cleveland as well, so they'd known each other from like way back when.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Because Belichick was a coach of them in like late 80s, early 90s.
95.
This is not recent. Yeah.
Ridiculous times.
Jesus.
His brother is an NFL receiver, Todd Kitchen. I think the Cardinals.
Todd Kitchen, I recognize that name.
Not anymore, but. And then he worked as a college analyst and then retired after explaining that receivers make catches with their hands because they can caress the ball. He added, that's kind of gay, but hey, whatever.
Who is this?
This is the
His brother?
Yeah, no, the guy.
Oh my God.
It's like the guy for the. So speaking of Carolina, the Hurricanes goalie, the emergency goalie was like the equipment manager.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to look it up right now. This was like recently,
and he pitched like a shutout, basically, right?
He got into the game.
Yeah. And was just like stonewalling whoever they're playing, the Blues or someone.
I'll try and find it.
All right. Yeah, I remember that guy. Yeah, there's a lot of those just like stories that are under the radar that you don't even realize are happening.
Yeah.
I mean, because wasn't there a thing with the Panthers running backs too? I remember Steven Davis went down in the Rams game and got hurt. And then who was the second
Deshaun
guy?
Foster.
Yes, Deshaun Foster. That's right.
It was always kind of the like change of pace back.
Yeah, he's kind of like the Kevin Falk of the Panthers, I would say.
Yeah,
but like a third
never
down
quite lived up to the hype, but he had his moments.
He had a sweet TD in this game.
I thought so. He had a like reaching over the pylon TD, didn't he?
Yep.
No, he had one where like we thought he had him down. He ran into like two guys and then burst out of it and ran for a touchdown.
Yeah, they showed a stat where the Patriots hadn't given up a touchdown all season of more than 30 yards, and they did it twice in this game.
Mm.
And that was one of them, was that Deshaun Foster touchdown run.
Yeah, I mean, that was the character of that team. It was just like backs against the wall. Not everything's going to go right. We're not the best team on the field in a lot of games, but somebody's going to step up when needed and make a play.
Guess they just didn't make one more play enough in this game, Bobby.
Yeah.
I mean, what'll haunt me forever is, at the end of the day, if John Casey doesn't kick that ball out of bounds, I mean, I felt like momentum was swinging our way. Like, I'll take that game to overtime any fucking day. I would have rolled the dice on overtime in that game any fucking day. Come on, John Casey. Come on, seriously? You kicked it out of bounds and gave Brady 30 yards to go? God damn it.
This is Tom Brady. He was going to do that anyway.
That's probably true.
Yeah. I mean,
but
not then.
He's coming from.
But not then. Yes. In 2015, sure. But 2003, Tom Brady, not. And that game, that's not what that game felt like.
I don't know. I think the Rams felt the same way.
And I think
Steve Smith cut their fucking throats in double overtime.
That's true. But I mean, you can say that, but like the Patriots had driven down the fields the last 3-4.
Tom Brady had like 350 yards passing at that point.
Yeah.
Guys, we can agree to disagree on this.
Both teams were picking up yards in chunks at this point.
We can agree to disagree. I'm just saying
falling apart.
I'm just saying that game should have gone to overtime, and I liked our chances.
Yeah,
you guys did play a lot of overtime games that year.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, you say that, but the Patriots also coming into this, they were 16 wins in a row or something, and they had won all of those games except for one by less than 7 points.
Mm.
So both
That's really
teams were
interesting.
teams that knew how to win close.
The teams were like more similar than they appeared at face value.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Kind of that strong veteran defense almost, it felt like. With
And the Pats overcoming all those injuries.
Yeah.
That was incredible earlier this year. Where
That's right. Yeah,
everybody was down, and they're still just reeling off wins.
There was some stat where the Patriots were leading the league in most different starters with like 40 something, and they showed a list of all the other teams who had led the league in starters, and I think the most wins on the season was 4 for those teams that suffered that many injuries and had to start so many players. And the Patriots went, what would they go this season? I don't even remember. Well, 14-2. So just like figuring out how to plug guys in, and it all worked out. But I think the one guy that they couldn't plug and play was Rodney Harrison, actually, who this was one of my memorable moments from the game where it's in the fourth quarter at some point. Oh, it was on that last Carolina touchdown drive where Rodney made the tackle of the running back and apparently like broke his arm or like separated his shoulder or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the injury was. Greg, do you remember?
I do not remember.
I just remember him being in the sling after the game. But so he broke his arm, but Carolina was running the no huddle, so he couldn't get off the field. So he was then in coverage on the next play on, I think it was the tight end, and they threw it to him. The tight end caught the ball, and he had to make the tackle out of bounds with a broken arm and still managed to make the play and then just kind of like laid there out of bounds, which is like one. And then I remember there was some camera shot of him coming out like after the confetti was falling in a sling, and he's just like covered in confetti, and he's like crying because it's Rodney Harrison and he just runs on emotion. So, but as soon as he went out after that, the Panthers are just like, oh, well, whoever that new guy is, which I didn't even recognize who he was. It's like number 29 or something. Couldn't even figure out who he was on the game sheet. But he was not good. And the Patriots just picked him apart with Ricky Prohl, of all people.
Ricky Prohl, another key member of that scrappy team. Yeah.
I mean, and he was one of those guys who always seemed to show up against the Patriots in Super Bowls. Because this was actually going to be one of my bests at the end, but I'll put it in here because it fits. He, in this game, caught the tying touchdown, like to tie the game up with less than 2 minutes left. And he also did the exact same thing when he was a member of the Rams in Super Bowl 36. He was the one that caught the tying touchdown with under 2 minutes left. And then the Patriots did what they did then as well.
Yep.
So Ricky Prohl, I think he may have also been the guy at the beginning of the Rams Super Bowl to be like, tonight a dynasty is born.
Yes, he is. Yep.
Just didn't realize which team he was talking about at the time.
He must hate the Patriots. He really must.
Yeah. Also, because he's just next to Ricky Prohl on my list here of Panthers players. Bobby, do you have any feelings one way or another on Jermaine Wiggins?
Nope, zero feelings. He was one of those guys that floated in the background for a while. Another guy who like always kind of flashed like maybe he'll be kind of good, and nope.
Yeah, because he was a former Patriot, and that's how we felt about him too. And now he's like on one of the sports radio morning shows. Wiggy.
Good for him.
He is unlistenable.
I didn't know he was in this game.
For the Panthers, yeah.
Yeah.
He had a couple of catches like right at the end there.
Yeah,
and he was the one that hurdled
Eugene Wilson, Greg's boy.
Yeah. Wilson did not have a good game in this game. Sorry to say, Greg.
It's okay.
No comment.
Doesn't sound okay.
He doesn't, does he?
No comment.
Fair enough. Because he's the one that got beat on the 85-yard touchdown.
Oh, yeah. The longest play in Super Bowl history.
Is it still?
Yes, I looked it up.
No.
Yep.
Longest play from scrimmage it has to be because I remember
longest touchdown, I guess.
It
is.
No, because the Patriots their Super Bowl in 97 gave up like a 99-yard kick return to whoever that Green Bay Packers returner was.
Desmond Howard.
Desmond Howard, yeah.
Okay. Kick returns, as Greg has said, special teams aren't really a part of the game, so that doesn't count.
It's true.
Yeah, it was definitely the longest field goal or another at the time it happened.
It was what?
It was the longest something at the time it happened.
It is still the longest touchdown pass or run in Super Bowl history.
Yeah. Against like one of the historic best defenses in the National Football League.
Well, Delhomme didn't even complete 50% of his passes.
No,
he started off terribly in this game. I think I was trying to keep track. They didn't actually have positive offensive yards with 5 minutes left in the second quarter.
Yeah, the beginning of the game was brutal.
Yeah, he was 1 for 9 for 1 yard with 2 minutes left in the second quarter. And like 3 sacks or something like that. So he had technically, I think he had negative passing yards. Classic
Jake Delhomme.
Yeah. So, I mean, what did he finish with? He finished with probably a few hundred yards.
Right? Oh, yeah.
20 yards, over 20 yards per completion. 16 completions for 323 yards.
Jesus. And 3 touchdowns. 4 sacks, one of which was a fumble, which he lost.
You got to think the man can live with that. That's how he showed up in the Super Bowl. You got to think,
against
he's riding his horses in Lafayette in Louisiana somewhere, and his mind is at peace.
You would have to think so, yeah. Because, I mean, they didn't have really any offense going. They couldn't get the running game going either. Stephen Davis he had a bad day.
No, and they were a really run-oriented team.
Right, exactly. And they kept trying it. Stephen Davis, 13 carries, 49 yards with a longest of 21. So,
yep,
not great. And then Deshaun Foster, 3 carries, 43 yards, but one of those was a 33-yard touchdown.
This was really before the era when you're tossing a lot of passes to your running back.
Yeah. So it was mainly Jake Delhomme to Steve Smith and Mushin Muhammad.
Can we talk about Antoine Smith's stat line, by the way? 26 carries.
26 carries, 83 yards and a touchdown.
Touchdown.
Hell yeah.
I got one in this, yeah.
Touchdown.
Yeah.
He was sneaky good in this game.
He was, yeah. The Patriots running game was actually, because it started off real slow. But Antoine Smith, again, we've said it the last couple of weeks, is running like it's 2001 again, because he has been like the wheels had fallen off through the regular season. I don't know if they were saving him or what, but he was actually running it relatively effectively in this game.
Especially against that D-line, too. Everyone thought they were absolutely toast. They couldn't run it all year.
Yep.
And then the Panthers have a monster D-line. For him to get 83 yards and a touchdown, huge.
Yeah. Quick question on what you boys thought about our Lord and Savior Troy Brown in this game.
Oh, big Troy Brown game. This is a big game for both my favorite receivers, Troy and David Givens.
David Givens had a good game.
Yeah.
I mean, Deion Branch had the numbers, 10 catches, 143 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, but it didn't seem like Deion seemed like the third best receiver out there.
Yeah, and the commentators were talking about how he was Brady's new favorite target, which everyone's like, you'd expect it to be Troy Brown, but Brady says it's Deion Branch because, for whatever reason, he's small, but he's strong. And then you get to the last drive of the game and it's incomplete to Deion Branch, Brady to Troy Brown, Brady to Troy Brown, Brady to Troy Brown, Brady to Graham, and then Brady to Branch. So,
yeah, well, you're just discounting the most important play of that drive is Brady to Branch.
Yeah, that's true. Greg has got a good play.
That's the game that won the Super Bowl, Andy.
Yeah, but if you look at that play, they're both on the same side. They were both wide open. So he could have hit. So
why did he throw at the Branch? Just because his favorite player. You're going to say
was
that
open deeper down the field.
Brady's favorite player is not dictated by Brady. It's up to him who his favorite player is. And he told the commentators it was Branch.
Yeah, and I disagree.
And you disagree with Brady as to who Brady's favorite player is.
Well, think about Branch's stat lines in his 2 Super Bowls here, back-to-back years.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
10 catches, 143 and a touchdown in this one, and then he wins the MVP in the next one.
Yeah. I think he sets the record for catches in the next one. Isn't that what it is?
Something like that.
In a Super Bowl? Yeah. But yeah, there's some good good wide receiver play on both ends of the ball, really, like on both sides.
Yeah.
Like it was because usually you see the Patriots kind of spread the ball around. And Brady's favorite receiver is the open one, but in this one, it was pretty much all wide receivers, I thought.
It really was. They didn't do like a lot of screen or any bubble screens either. It was all passes down the field.
Yeah, which was very unusual. And it sounded like, and Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like the Panthers relied on a lot of screens in the regular season as well, similar to the Patriots offense. But
yeah, I think there were a lot of similarities. Like they were a running team, and then, they lived on. They made their money on play action and like Steve Smith bailing them the fuck out, and pulling out crazy shit.
Yeah, so very similar.
There's something I wrote down from the first quarter. It was 3rd and 6, and they ran the ball. And Sims said, "I know it's not exciting to watch, but it's kind of fun." And I was like, "Well, no, it's not exciting, and it's not fun either."
Oh, we going into the commentators?
Also, presaging Phil Simms eventually getting the axe for being fucking boring as hell.
Yeah, he was pretty bad.
I don't know. He called Julius Peppers being a beast.
Julius Peppers is 2nd overall pick.
Yeah,
it's not really a reach.
Greg, I thought you would have been about him roasting Bill Belichick's squib kick decision.
That was a terrible decision. And
he was that kick.
He was pretty butthurt about that.
Yeah, I'm sure you were too.
I was too. Yeah, it was dumb.
You should take Belichick to task for that, dude.
Yeah, give it to us. Give us the Greg Brown Belichick hate minute.
Well, how much time was left? There was like 15 seconds left in the half. You just gone up 14-7. The Panthers have been like absolutely dominated the whole half. At like the 2-minute warning, they had like 0 total yards.
Yeah.
The one was like 1 of 9 up to that point. Like you had absolutely shit pumped them the whole half, and it was 14-7. And for some reason, instead of just kicking it deep, they do this stupid squib kick, which gets returned to like midfield. 1 play later, it's a 50-yard field goal, and it's good. And then you go in without momentum.
I think you're kind of glossing over the fact that one play was just like a run up the middle. The Patriots just did not defend.
Well, if that play happens from your 20-yard line, it doesn't matter. Like, when does a kick ever get to the fucking 50-yard line?
That's
just
fair.
Play the odds, play the numbers. It doesn't make any sense. Do your job, Belichick, some would say.
We've seen the Colts kick off to the Patriots in this exact situation, and Bethel Johnson takes to the house.
That's a good point, Andy.
So I think he is playing the numbers. As long as that doesn't happen, we're okay. Field goal, yeah, okay, we're still winning.
You think he's okay with giving up a field goal there?
Probably not, but I think he in the moment that decision was the right decision because there's the least amount of chance of giving up.
All right, let's talk about the other big coaching decision here in this game, and I want to get Bobby's thoughts on this. Was the Panthers going for 2 somewhat early in the fourth quarter because Phil Simms hated that decision.
Sims hated it. That was like the first thing he said at the end of the game was like, well, they'll be second guessing that. I was like, what?
Yeah, he brought it back to shit on him again. Yeah. So let's set it up, right? It's 12:48 left in the fourth quarter. Deshaun Foster's sick-ass touchdown makes it 21-16.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think all 3 timeouts left. So it was a whole quarter to play.
A lot of football left, yeah.
Kicking it puts you down, 4?
3.
Going for 2 gets you in within 3.
Mm-hmm.
So they go for 2 and don't get it, so they're down 5.
Correct.
There's 2 schools of thought here. Like, there's the school of thought of, don't go for 2 until you have to. But in the context of this game, I have mixed feelings. In the context of this game, I kind of liked it because I was just like, your point scoring opportunities have been really limited so far. Maximize them, get within 3. Hell yeah. So I think it made sense ultimately. That said, the other part of my brain says, motherfuckers, you don't have an offense to get a 2-point conversion in this game. And they didn't.
That's true.
You weren't this ain't Philly special. You didn't have a play in your back pocket. And that's so true. It was maybe sort of from a strategic standpoint, the right call, except you weren't equipped to win on it. So I don't know.
Yeah, the play did not look good.
Speaking of having a play in the pocket.
Oh, I know.
Right. Yeah, that's the difference in the coaching staffs, right? Is Belichick had a play for a 2-point conversion when they
that
needed
I guarantee that they had practiced multiple times.
Correct.
Even though this was their first 2-point conversion attempt of the entire season.
And remembering that team and John Fox, I fucking guarantee the Panthers did not.
Yeah.
I had a question. Is this the first direct snap to Kevin Falk?
Oh, no. They've been running this since the Bledsoe days.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
You never read Andy's blog post?
Yeah, there's a blog post about it, the evolution of a play. Yeah, it's been around for ages, and they always seem to break it out like when they need it the most.
Yeah.
And it was here. They did it in 2006 when they needed 2 points against the Chargers in the Marlon McCree, Troy Brown interception fumble game. They did it in the Falcons Super Bowl with James White. They did it in 2007 where they actually faked it. They snapped it to Brady. Brady pretended like it went over his head, even though he had the ball. And so they faked the run, and then Brady threw a touchdown. So they've run this play a lot, but it's that absolutely have to have this point play. Whereas I think beforehand, like back in the Bledsoe days, they'd run it in midfield just for shits and giggles.
Which came off the heels of the Vrabel touchdown that I think everybody associates this game with on some level.
Yeah, I still think this is my hot take for this game. Mike Vrabel should have been Super Bowl MVP. He had 2 sacks. He had a strip sack, which set up the first Patriots touchdown, and he caught a touchdown as a defensive player. How do you not give him MVP?
I agree.
Yeah,
just funny, because it goes to the quarterback.
As a non-Patriots fan, for some reason, Mike Vrabel is one of the guys from that era that sticks out in my mind so much, maybe subconsciously because of this game.
Yeah, and he caught, 8 touchdowns in his career, something like that?
Yeah,
I think he had 8 passes, 8 receptions on 8 attempts for 8 touchdowns.
I bet the tight ends love that.
With 9 yards. But yeah, and they also, I thought it was interesting, the commentators were talking about Mike Vrabel saying, I think it was after he caught the touchdown maybe, that he aspires to be a coach someday and wants to go back to Ohio State and is hoping that they would give him a assistant coaching job after he finishes playing.
Bam.
And he said that if he ever was to become a coach, that if his team made the Super Bowl, he would cut off his penis.
He did say that.
I think that was later. Yeah.
Wait, when did he say that?
Also,
always been the dream.
2 seasons ago.
That was a thing?
Yeah, he's like, I cut off my own dick to get to the Super Bowl.
Not said when he was 25 years old. Said 2 years ago as head coach of an NFL franchise.
Yeah, as a young 12-year-old boy, he said, if I ever leave the Houston Oilers to the Super Bowl, I'll cut off my penis. And then, of course, they got renamed as the Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Yeah, so do we want to do the commentators, Steve? I know you said you had some notes.
I've already said all of my notes.
Really? Because I had one more.
Phil Simms blaming Ty Law for the blown coverage on the touchdown when it was Asante Samuel.
Yeah, it definitely was.
I'm sure Greg was mad about that, but happy that he called out Bill Belichick for a shitty squib quick.
Yeah, exactly. The one other quote that I had was Phil Simms saying, neither team is big on celebrating or trash talking. I'm thinking to myself, have you met Steve Smith and or Rodney Harrison? That's their fucking
You're projecting yourself on this game.
Right. What the fuck, dude? Both of them, that's all they do is trash talk the entire fucking time.
Greg Gumbel did call Adam Vinatieri's game-winning field goal. I don't know if you caught that too.
Oh, I missed that. What did he say?
He's like, maybe he'll have an opportunity to redeem himself and kick for the win.
Oh, yeah.
That was before the Rabel's TD.
Yeah. All right, since we're not going to trash on the commentators, how about we trash on the referees? Because this was an Ed fucking Hockey League game. Made it all about him.
I didn't notice referees at all. I thought they were perfectly fine.
No, how many penalties were there? There was a shit ton. There was New England 8 penalties for 60 yards. Carolina 12 penalties for 73 yards. I'd say a good half of those were ticky-tack. They were just like fucking Ed Hockey League wanted to hear himself talk, wanted to be fucking Major League Baseball umpire. taking control of the game, or like a fucking NBA basketball referee being the center of attention.
I do vaguely remember there being periods of this game that were frustrating with lots of penalties.
I remember. I think Andy's just butthurt.
No. Well, I mean, all right, let's go. Let's go to the last one, the Troy Brown offensive pass interference. You're going to tell me that was a legit call?
There's one stretch where I was like, this is getting out of hand, where they had a measurement 3 plays in a row and then called a challenge after the third measurement. And like that was in the first quarter or the first half when the game was just a slog fest anyways, and like 3 straight plays where they're like, okay, come on, measure it out. And you're just like, oh, fuck.
Not again.
It's not exciting, but it's kind of fun to watch.
I mean, it is interesting too. Like, you know, shortly after this is when the NFL changed the illegal contact rule.
Yes.
And like that Panthers-Eagles NFC Championship got often cited as a game that caused them to change the rule. When like, I mean, I haven't gone back and watched it, but it seems pretty clear that in retrospect, like the Panthers secondary, like absolutely fucking robbed the Eagles in that game and was just like fucked them up at every moment.
Yeah.
And that game was often cited as one of the key exhibits for the NFL to like change the illegal contact rules. And it makes you wonder if in the immediate aftermath there wasn't some sort of conversation about that shit.
I think if that's Exhibit A, then Exhibit B is the Patriots Colts game where the Patriots defense just manhandled that red hot Colts offense.
Yep.
And so I think, and that was the 2 conference championship games, both of those. And so you basically have this defense.
It's interesting. Ricky Manning had 3 picks in that game, and Ty Law had 3 picks in the Pats game.
Oh shit!
Call it the Ricky Manning Ty Law rule.
God damn! So this kind of like these 2 teams are very kind of parallel to each other, which makes sense why it was such a close scoring game.
I just got to ask, were we talking about the halftime show at all?
I was just looking.
Oh, is that this one?
So I wanted to say that this is the XXX'iest Super Bowl that was in the XXX range of Super Bowls, because they no longer are, because this is 39, so XXXVIII 38, yeah. So we're getting close to the
fucking 40s. Timberlake, man.
Yep. So Greg, I kind of just assumed you had notes on this.
It's just so audacious that they could even think to call this a wardrobe malfunction. She had a tassel around her nipple. So what are we talking about here?
I have a story about that.
She just wears those under her clothes without the intention of showing them.
I have tassels on my nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
People just like bought it too. Everyone was like, okay, wardrobe malfunction.
Also,
what were you trying to accomplish?
I mean, the last line of the song is, I'm going to have you naked by the end of this song. Yeah. I mean, come on, people. Come on, people.
And then he grabs like a piece of clothing right in her breast area and pulls it. What if it didn't malfunction, what was supposed to happen?
This is probably my defining memory of this as a kid, because we had TiVo. And it had just gotten TiVo.
Oh, thank God.
And we were like, bleep, bleep. We were like, what did I just watch? Wow, this thing is the best. We just rewinded that shit like a million times.
So I was at college watching this too, and we were all in like the main common room, and we like wheeled the TV in, because this was back in the days before like flat screens and shit. So we had the TV, like we wheeled somebody's TV in, whoever had the biggest one, and we're all watching it. And so it was halftime, and like everybody else left to like, go pee or grab some food or more drinks or whatever. And so I'm sitting there watching this thing by myself alone in this like empty room. And that happens. I'm like, did I just see boob on live TV? And I had nobody to validate it with me. I'm like, I don't know. And this is like kind of before like live internet's happening. So you can't go,
you can go on Twitter and find out.
You can't go on Twitter and like ask people. So you're like, I think I just saw boob on TV. And so everybody came back. I'm like, guys, you missed it. There was boobs on TV at the halftime show. And they're like, yeah, go fuck yourselves.
Wow.
Like, we're sick of your shit already. Like,
what a strange moment. A viral moment before viral moments were things. And I just remember it as like, it kind of happened. and then there was like this pause, and then they like the lights went out.
Yeah.
And it was just like, wait.
Everyone
What?
just looked at each other and be like, "Did I just?"
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
Andy was. Did I just see that? Or
Yeah. Was that nipple? No,
And
that's
it's-
not nipple.
In
The question
retrospect,
is
obviously staged.
right, but how far up did it go?
Mm.
Like obviously Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake knew it was happening. Did the show producers know it was happening? Did the NFL know it was happening?
Phil
Did the
Simms
people that
definitely
had
didn't know what was
commercials?
happening.
Phil Simms, they could have told Phil Simms and he'd have no clue.
as Phil, to quote Phil Simms in this game, you're allowed to push him around every now and then. That's what I do up here in the booth.
That's true. Yeah.
Maybe he's talking about boobies.
He knows.
Maybe he's
He knows
about,
getting a
you know,
little
he knew.
sexy.
He
Yeah.
knew it was coming. Fucking Phil Simms. Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, I think
Ballsy move though. I gotta give
Very.
him props. You know, I think if they if they just leaned into it and they were like, yeah, you saw what you saw.
Yeah. What do you
How do
think?
you like that shit? We'll put that on the Super Bowl for you. I
Yeah.
would have loved it. But the fact that they immediately tried to walk it back and be like, no,
Yeah.
malfunction. It's like, come on.
No,
You
know
can't like commit and then backtrack immediately.
what? Yeah.
You just gotta go
Back
for
then,
it.
they probably would have been.
What's wrong with a little nipple? It's very European. Just be like,
No,
you guys aren't cultured enough.
You know what it is?
I don't know if the
Yeah.
world was ready for that in 2000.
It was 2004, Greg.
Yeah.
Still, let's not pretend Justin Timberlake didn't tuck that shit right onto his resume. This was building a brand before building a brand was a thing.
Bob's got a great point here.
Yeah. Although, Greg, you know why they didn't cop to it? It's because it was
Very naughty.
Very
and
naughty.
our
What
boy
is Justin Timberlake, Andy?
our boy Justin Timberlake.
Sometimes a naughty boy.
Yeah.
He is. It's been back in the news because the Britney Spears documentary.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, it doesn't shine very good light on Timberlake. So he's apologized for both that and the Janet Jackson.
I'd heard that. Yeah.
Apparently, he
Yeah.
said he was trying to compete with Madonna,
Mhm.
Christina Aguilera, and Britney Spears kissed at the MTV Music Awards.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
I mean,
Formulate of years there.
this is consistent with how we perceive Mr. Timberlake. It would be great if he could just be honest about these things.
Uh-huh. I
Yeah.
agree.
Like, stop trying to present yourself as like kind of wholesome, dude. Like,
Mhm.
that's not how you are.
Yeah.
Right?
He never quite got the line right between am I a bad boy or am I America's sweetheart?
No, man. You
Yeah,
were
he
fucking.
couldn't make his decision, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He wanted the best of both worlds.
But I think
he would have thrived on TikTok.
For sure.
Yes.
Oh god,
There's still time.
yeah. It
There's
ain't over.
still time. Also, this is in Houston, and they did a NASA tribute in the pregame. Is the 1 year anniversary of the Columbia disaster?
Oh shit.
1 year?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, way to bring it down right before I was going to segue into that halftime show not being the sexiest thing to happen in this game.
You talking about Tom Brady?
No, actually. Here, I will share my screen so you gentlemen can share in this with me.
And you're saying this is sexier than Janet Jackson's boob?
It is, yes. This is right before the halftime kickoff. There was this gentleman who dressed up as a referee, got to midfield, and then took off the vast majority of his clothes and went streaking. And then our good friend of the podcast, Matt Chatham, with quite possibly the best tackle of the game.
He bodies him.
Yeah, this game, Matt Chatham with the neck roll at this point and like the arm sleeves and everything, just absolutely.
The view from the end zone is
Dude.
better.
Hope you didn't
That's the
fuck
best
up
view
your
right here.
shoulder when you hit the turf.
The
Yeah.
view from the end zone's best.
He's like, oh no, I give up. And Matt Chatham's like,
God.
no, we don't give up in this game.
Well, yeah, if Matt Chad doesn't hit him, that Panthers guy's going to
Yeah.
get him.
And then just kind of like walks
But
off.
to be
like,
clear,
yeah.
so like
I
this
did
like
that.
45-year-old guy, I'm thinking pretty overweight, in a jockstrap and a ref's hat,
And that's it.
running down the field is sexier than Janet Jackson.
No, the hit was sexier.
Oh, the hit part of it
Yeah.
is. Oh, that makes more
I
sense.
mean, Yeah, he got fucked up.
Yeah, they had like the medics on the field, I think.
I mean, can we also just talk? I mean, you guys have been rewatching old games, but
yes.
So this is probably I'm just like, man, pre-high def. What the fuck was that shit? It might as well have been 1985 watching that footage.
Yeah, actually, I mean, when we first started, they didn't have the yellow first down line, and it was so hard to watch. You're like, wait. Yeah. And they didn't have weird. Like the score bug up all the time. It only showed like when the play was starting. Yeah. So you get to be like, where are they on the field? What down is it? I don't even know what's going on right now. So hard to follow.
Yeah, very weird. Just watching that highlight, I was just like, I was distracted by the
pixels.
Fucking archaic
that's good quality. Like the Monday night footballs and the Sunday night Super Bowls, they always have a little bit better quality than the regular season shit.
Yep.
I think it's like watching football as like my wife Kelly watches it, where there's no perception of like what down is it, how much time's left, but like, ooh, exciting play. Yeah, I'll watch that and then just like drift off for a bit. Ooh, exciting play. I'll watch that, Like that's her fan experience, which is similar to like pre-yellow line and clock and shit.
Yeah. That's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, every play has like less significance when it's like that because it's like, I don't even know. Yeah, could be a first down, couldn't be. I don't know.
Are we winning? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if we're winning. How much time?
I have to wait till they bring the chains on the field to know what's happening.
It's true though. Yeah. No, it's been almost like relearning how to watch some of these old football games. Because like, oh fuck, I actually have to pay attention to like how far we got. Is that a first down? Nobody knows. Yeah, no, but they're starting to get better. We're getting closer to high def, I think, in 2003.
Another interesting little anecdote from this game: the kick returner and like third string running back is none other than Rod Smart. He hate me from XFL Glory.
I thought I recognized that name, but I couldn't place it. That was really.
He hate me.
Damn.
He hated me. This game is sweet.
Yeah. Another like character on this Panthers team.
Yeah, he was
not
pretty
have
awesome.
Good success returning kicks in this game, I will say.
You did okay, I thought.
No, I don't think he got back to the 20.
Troy did really well.
So Troy Brown was returning punts, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. And then he was again, and then there were no more punts. Is how this game seemed to go.
He got that knee in the through the face mask early.
Yeah, and I don't know if he broke his nose, but he came back on the field. He just had like the tissue just wedged up in there. And he's playing like that.
Yeah, that's a sweet shot. Throw trotting out there with a wad of stuff up his nose.
Yeah, you can see the red starting to like leak through it.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
Another interesting he hate me note is that upon retirement, Jake Delhomme got into like owning horses and shit like that. And one of the horses that he raced, he had named She Hate Me.
Okay.
Assuming the horse hated him?
I don't know. It was a reference to that. And apparently Spike
probably
Lee
a difficult
had
horse that just like bit him all the time. So he called her She Hate Me.
Yeah.
There was also players in the XFL that were playing against He Hate Me's team that put on their nameplate, I hate he. And the other guy put, I hate he too.
The number 2 or the letter TOO?
TOO.
Ooh.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Imagine taking yourself seriously, having I hate he too on your jersey, which is a response to a teammate's whose response to an opponent.
What's great is like thinking about this through our modern lens of like, this is the shit people do on Twitter now. But in these days, dudes were like getting jerseys made with this stuff.
That was the only way you could like get your name out was by like putting something ridiculous in your jersey.
Yeah, like these were guys trying to do the equivalent of
in
going viral.
Certain amount of characters.
Going viral was a thing.
Yeah, you got like 15 characters to fucking get your name out there.
Make your name.
Which honestly is probably that is the defining piece of the XFL. You know, XFL He Hate Me is probably like the most.
Mm-hmm. That and XFL MVP Tommy Maddox actually starting some games for the.
The other part I remember of the XFL clearly was inside of the coin flip. They just put the ball in the middle.
The kickoff rule. That was the greatest thing.
Two guys would run at each other. Yeah.
And the guy like tore his ACL on like the first one. Remember?
Yeah.
Opening day.
This leads to injuries.
Shocking.
No one predicted this.
Yeah.
This is awesome, though.
Yeah.
Who wants
Such
it?
a good
Come get
idea.
it.
Yeah. Like, we should bring this back. Oh, yeah, we did. That bomb, too. Oh, boy.
All right, y'all do best and worst?
Yeah.
Sure.
So, Bobby, growing up in the Brown house, we at dinner time we have to do best and worst, go around the table and give our best of the day and the worst of the day. So we've brought that over to the podcast for the game. So you're more than welcome to participate, but we're putting you on the spot. So if you have any best and worst just of either the Super Bowl or this Panthers season in general, feel free.
Thankfully, your mother has, spent enough time with her grandchildren that I'm very familiar with best and worst at this point.
It's like Bobby knows about best and worst.
Best and worst. I mean, enduringly, the worst for me was the kickoff going out of bounds in this game. It's the thing I remember as the biggest regret. What the fuck moment?
Yeah.
Because I just remember at the end of that game, tying it up in the end. It was a moment that felt like the whole season. It was just this is it. A game we shouldn't win, but we're going to have a chance to win.
Yeah.
And the kick out of bounds was just such a fucking punch in the stomach from a guy who otherwise had just been so stalwart. John Casey kicked it out of bounds on kickoff. What?
Yeah.
So that was my worst. I'll never forget that. I think best for this game was definitely the Muhammad touchdown. It was just such a fuck you moment.
Because it was 3rd and 10.
It was
at
just
their own 15, and the first two passes had to look real bad. The Patriots defensive line were ragdolling Delhomme all over the place,
and Delhomme tossed that ball just up, that shit rainbowed so high and so hard. But I think that was my best. Yeah, the best for the game. I mean, I'll still just say I'll go back a second, and we talked about it briefly, but that Rams game is my favorite Panthers game of all time. And I watched it at a friend's house, and it was it was happening over Christmas break, I think, because it was that time of year, you know what I mean? So I was home, and my buddies from home who were Panthers fans were all over there. We're at this house, and this house was a family. They had 4 kids, and it was literally, we called it the game house growing up. Because his parents would host game nuts on Friday, all these fucking kids over there, right? Literally 30 kids over there. And we go over there, and we're in a back bedroom watching this game. And these people are not football fans. This is where we went to play board games, right? And Dungeons and Dragons. So we're watching a Panthers game hardcore in the other room, and I'm losing my fucking shit. I'm totally losing my shit. And the thing I remember from after that game was oh, you know what it was? I was about to leave after that game to drive back to Davidson. And the oldest son in that family, Scott, went there with me. He was a year older than me. So I was going to give him a ride back. And I just remember their mom, Maxine, who was this really nice, soft-spoken woman. I just remember vividly her looking at me in the living room. And I've known this woman my whole life. I've been around her 100 times, but I probably had 3 direct conversations with her ever. And she just looks at me and she just goes, she had clearly heard my insanity from the other room, and just goes, I really love you, but if the Panthers had lost this game, I was not going to let my son drive back with you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Maxine, classic Maxine.
Classic Maxine.
Always. All right. Well, my best is learning that my brother-in-law plays Dungeons and Dragons.
Listen, we can talk about that later.
All right.
Dude, Dragons
a lot of things happened on game night. Okay.
D&D's legit, my friend.
I never played, but I'm very intrigued by it.
I'm with Greg.
It's I've done it before. You got to have somebody running.
I need a dungeon master. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Honestly, this podcast is too much of a commitment. I can't imagine at Dungeons and Dragons. I feel like it's going to be even more.
Yeah, you need somebody who like knows what they're doing and runs.
Oh, so you need somebody who like preps a whole like 8 pages of show notes every week, edits the episodes, runs the website.
So what I'm saying is I don't have enough time because I'm doing this podcast to run a fucking
Later, I can introduce you guys to Joel, who used to work as an aerospace engineer for Delta and got laid off during the pandemic, and now is just a full-time Dungeons and Dragons dungeon master. I meet with him on Wednesdays every 3 weeks. Don't worry about it.
Oh no, I've got a few friends like that too. They 3D print little mini. They 3D print their people. So when you're in person, you can be your own little guy, and they set up all sorts of good times.
So is that your worst or your best, Andy? I can't remember.
That was one of my bests. No, my actual best for this game was Deion Branch catching his first ever career playoff touchdown. Just happened to be in the Super Bowl. It happened to be a long one, actually. It was one that kind of kicked off the. Actually, no, his was the play action one early, so that was good. And then my worst was Reliant Stadium as a stadium. I thought the grass was like the turf itself seemed pretty bad. Like nobody could stay on their feet for the whole game, and I'm going to blame the stadium for Adam Vinatieri's misses because he has only missed up until this point 4 field goals indoors, all 4 of them in this stadium, because the other 2 were against the Houston Texans when they're playing in Reliant Stadium earlier this season before, whenever that was.
Whatever. Go ahead and blame all of David Carr's sacks on the turf. Whatever.
Yeah. Hey, you know what else we can blame on this turf? John Casey kicking the ball out of bounds on the kickoff.
There we go. See?
So there you go.
No double standards, all right?
Yeah.
Andy, the commentators are wrong and the refs really fucked that up.
Yeah, but really it was the stadium. The whole thing was a joke except for the 2 teams.
That's a good segue into my best, actually.
All right, give it to me.
So I was watching this, and there's so many plays in this game that remind me of other big Patriots plays that happened either before or after.
I'm listening.
So the Adam Vinatieri game-winning field goal, very similar to the one against the Texans earlier in the year, which if you're going to go back actually watch one of the games from the season that you don't maybe not remember, that's a good one.
You think?
Yeah.
The Texans game?
Yeah, that was a close game the whole way through, and it went all the way almost to the whole length of overtime. That was the longest game in Tom Brady's career.
That's true.
If I remember correct.
I don't remember it being a good game.
The Vrabel strip sack looked exactly like Hightower
against
the Falcons.
Yeah.
That was like just mirror image flipped on the other side of the field, but the same gets like he's rearing back to throw, gets him right in the arm, and he just drops it on the ball.
It just chops the arm. It's great.
There was a coverage by Tyrone Poole on Steve Smith where he pulls the Steph play. Yeah, he looks back for it.
The Gilmore
and
play.
Out and bats it down with his offhand.
Which is great because I think that was the only play Tyrone Poole made the entire game. But
he didn't have a great game, but he had that sick Steph Gilmore looking one.
He did. There
was a Wiggins sighting of him hurdling people like in the Raiders game.
True. Yeah.
There's the direct snap to Kevin Falk, which looked a lot like the James White one, you know? So I was just getting a lot of flashbacks to other Patriots games in this one. It's like a amalgamation of all those other big plays sort of in this one, with just different versions of it that you don't actually quite remember those plays. Like if you had to pull one play out of this, it's probably the Vrabel touchdown.
Yeah. Which again is also reminiscent of Super Bowl next year in 2004.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Just a touchdown. So that's a great best. What do you got for your worst?
Tom Brady's interception.
Oh, in the end zone. Like he's been doing that this season a few times, mostly against the Colts, where they drive down and he's ready to put his foot on the team's throat and just like end it as a contest. And he throws that interception like deep in enemy territory or in the end zone, give them life. And wasn't that right before the big? Yeah, that was right before the
85-yard
Muhammad 85-yard touchdown. Yeah.
Yeah. Like literally, yeah. They were inside the 9 or something like that.
3 plays later.
Inside the 10-yard line, you throw an interception on the goal line.
Yep.
And you're up, 21-10 at that point. You go 28-10 with 7:48 left in the game.
Kick a field goal at least,
cruising.
Yep. So that was a bad one. I blocked that out of my mind. I didn't even write that down. Fuck it.
It is also sort of similar to not really, but the pick 6 he threw in the Falcons game, we're like, God damn it, we're just finally getting something going.
Yeah. All right, Greg, what you got for me, boy?
So going back, I just wanted to mention this, the Hurricanes goalie. I found the article on it.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Hilarious. So this guy they're playing in Toronto.
That's who it was.
He's the emergency goalie, but he lives and works in Toronto for like their AHL team. And he sometimes subs in practices with Toronto, the Maple Leafs, as just like their third goalie during practice. So I think he's the emergency goalie for both teams.
I think that's how it works. Yeah.
Logistics work out. So they both the starters for the Hurricanes get injured. This guy's a 42-year-old. He's the Zamboni driver for an AHL team.
That's right.
He comes off the bench. He's wearing a Maple Leafs goalie face mask, the helmet. And he comes in and plays against the Maple Leafs for the Hurricanes, gives up goals on his first 2 shots, and then settles down, stops his last 8, and ends up winning the game for the Hurricanes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and they're making a Disney movie about it.
Nice. As they should.
So pretty cool story. My best, I think, Vrabel. You kind of stole it earlier, but he was. I think he had a case for MVP. 2 sacks, forced fumble, tackle for loss, and a touchdown. Pretty impressive game.
Yeah.
My worst. Not that they know in retrospect, but all the fawning they kept doing over Jerry Richardson every time they showed him in the box. It's kind of like cringy at this point.
Yeah. How he changed the culture and how he would do anything to win. It's like, well, this is true.
They did that cut right before the kick where they cut to Robert Kraft and he's sitting there holding hands with people next to him and Myra's right there and everyone's like, oh, and then they cut to Jerry Richardson. He's sitting by himself, legs crossed, arms crossed, just looking so pissed off.
Arms crossed across that like big old gut of his.
Yep.
He's a weirdly shaped man.
Sometimes
he had like a resting bitch face anyways, and he looked even more pissed off there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to hear for any of those that never read up on what happened. Obviously, he was forced to sell the team. So this is from the article I was reading. Friday was Jeans Day, when most staffers at the Panthers team offices would wear denim to work. The female employees knew what that meant. As the team's owner, Jerry Richardson made his rounds on his way to a spacious office. He would ask women to turn around so he could admire their backsides. Then in his rolling Southern drawl, he'd offer comment, drawing from a store of one-liners he'd recycle each week. Among those in heaviest rotation, show me how you wiggle to get those jeans up. I bet you had to lay down on your bed to fit into those jeans. Oh, no. Did you step into those jeans or did you have to jump into them?
Oh my God.
So the cringiest, creepiest old fucking man shit.
Bob's face right now is classic.
Very naughty.
Yeah.
Show me how you wiggle. Imagine a fucking billionaire team owner saying that to someone in your presence.
A man who wiggles just like generally.
He's probably jiggling down the fucking hallway himself, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's wiggling to get his own fucking
That's what I'm saying. He knows from personal experience what it takes.
Just kidding. They're expertly hemmed to fit his gut precisely.
So watching Phil Simms and Greg Gumbel like fawn over him during a Super Bowl was just like, whew.
Yeah,
tough.
So that's my worst.
Fair enough. Who's the owner now?
David Tepper.
I don't know who he is.
He's another billionaire. He seems to be doing good things with the program. Yeah.
Bobby, comments?
I mean, I'm pretty disassociated at this point.
Fair
My
enough.
read on him is like he's cut from the like ambitious entrepreneur cloth.
That did look like Jerry Richardson in those seats, but okay.
All right. Well, this has been yet another successful season. Bobby, thank you for joining us.
Indeed.
Great. Steve, Greg, thank you for joining me on this journey again.
Greg, thanks for watching the game.
Yeah, thanks for watching this game.
Steve, thank you for thanking me.
Greg, thank you for thanking me for thanking you.
You're welcome.
And Mom for listening.
Sometimes
Thank
a
you, Mom,
naughty
for
boy.
listening.
Shout out, Mom. What's up, Mom? I love you.
Yeah, for everything. Yeah, and so this wraps up the 2003 NFL season. We'll be back soon with the start of the 2004 season, when eventually we'll probably see the Patriots lose one day.
Wagon keeps rolling, baby.
It's been a while. I think we're 16 wins in so far.
If only Donovan McNabb didn't get tired.
He had an upset tummy. Okay.
Yeah, he had an upset
tummy.
He had some bad shellfish.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's not what Terrell Owens said.
I mean, maybe you shouldn't have Fred X'd it. Should have got it fresh.
Ooh.
Hey, but we'll see you next season on the Patriots Dynasty podcast. But until then, we'll see you later.
See you later.
Later.